Welcome to ENT student. We are going to discuss about the skull base reconstruction. Start.
Introduction of craniofacial resection by Smith and Ketchum in the 1950s and 1960s.
Yes.
Introduction of craniofacial resection by Smith and Ketchum in the 1950s and 1960s.
So craniofacial resection is one thing wherein you have to go for these tumors of this particular paranasal sinuses. Craniofacial resection.
The treatment of skull base neoplasm has changed dramatically. The treatment of an expanded number of lesions significantly decreased morbidity. There are a number of critical advances.
So morbidity-less surgery is the need of the day.
The evolution of multidisciplinary teams specialized in the management of patients with cranial base tumors have been instrumental in the improvement of outcomes. Head and neck surgeon, neurosurgeon, reconstructive surgeon and non-surgical specialists like radiologists and pathologists.
So we need a head and neck surgeon, we ourselves, a neurosurgeon if central nervous system is involved, a reconstructive or plastic surgeon, non-surgical specialists like radiologists and pathologists are the need for the day.
Advances in imaging have provided heightened understanding of anatomy and routes of tumor spread. With angled endoscopes, image guidance and specialized instrumentation have led to a paradigm shift with respect to the viability of an endoscopic approach to select lesions of the anterior skull base.
So we are fortunate enough to have this endoscopic approach with minimal morbidity, especially for the anterior skull base, because of this improvements in the endoscopes. Number two, image guidance, so which help in further improvements without any residual or recurrent damage.
Reconstruction, more integral to the decreased morbidity of skull-based surgery, have been advances in reconstruction. Adequate and effective reconstruction of the skull base is important because of the location of the defect and the potential morbidity associated with reconstructive failure. Reconstruction after skull-based surgery is a broad topic for which a multitude of specific considerations need to be evaluated before a decision is made regarding the most appropriate intervention.
So resection is number one. Number two will be the reconstruction. Proper reconstruction, which is very important. You should understand for a patient's better output.
Specific factors for reconstruction: location of skull base defect, anterior skull base, middle or central skull base, posterior skull base. Size of skull base defect, component of defect, bone, dura, brain. History of surgery altering a reconstructive option, prior use of local flap options, factors hindering healing, history of radiation or chemoradiation, anticipated adjuvant treatment, diabetes or other systemic factors, contamination or infection.
So based on the location, we are going to divide it as anterior skull base, middle skull base or central skull base and posterior skull base, as we know that. And size of the defect and components of the defects, like bone is involved or dura is involved or brain is involved. Bone is involved, we can easily do it. Dura is a resistant structure. If it is breached, the things will go to the brain. So you need the help of a neurosurgeon there. And history of surgery for reconstructive option, like you should know about local flaps and factors hindering, like radiation is always a hindering factor, chemoradiation is always a hindering factor. And other adjuvant treatments needed, and diabetes is always a factor in any surgery, and other systemic factors. Contamination and infection always go hand in hand.
As in the other areas of the head and neck, the critical issues are maintenance of structure, function and aesthetics. Inadequate separation of intracranial contents and the skin or mucosal surfaces lead to extremely high risk of central nervous system complications. There are cerebrospinal fluid leak, meningitis and pneumocephalus. Of paramount importance in skull-base reconstruction is the watertight dural closure.
So you need to think of structure, function and also aesthetics, that is looks. And you should have an idea on the central nervous system complications like CSF leak, cerebrospinal fluid leak, meningitis and pneumocephalus, which are of paramount importance. Every time you need a watertight dural closure. You need to have a watertight dural closure so that you can go for proper reconstruction.
Critical factors in skull base reconstruction: isolation of central nervous system, watertight dural closure, soft tissue barrier external to dura, protection of critical vessels and obliteration of dead space, Maintenance of appropriate structure and facial form. Well vascularized soft tissue that obliterates dead space. Oronasal separation. Bone grafts or flaps where appropriate. And reconstruction of orbitomaxillary complex. Opportunity for prosthetic rehabilitation. Support for orbital prosthesis. Adequate environment for dental implants. And appropriate local tissue for auricular prosthesis.
So it is important to separate the central nervous system, isolate it, watertight dural closure. Soft tissue barrier is needed external to the dura, so extradurally, and protection of all the critical vessels with obliteration of dead space as far as the CNS is concerned. And facial form and appropriate structure is by means of soft tissue vascularized flaps which obliterate the dead space. For example, maxillectomy is done. Oronasal separation. To prevent the fistula formation, you might have to go for bone grafts or flaps wherever there is appropriateness. And orbitomaxillary complex, that eye and maxilla, as you could see, for opportunity for prosthetic rehabilitation, should support with orbital prosthesis and adequate environment for dental implants. If it is for oromaxillary, this orbitomaxillary separation, and appropriate local tissue for auricular prosthesis if external ear is removed.
I must that the reconstruction supports the brain and maintains a safe barrier between the central nervous system and the extracranial cavity. This barrier must eliminate dead space and cover vital structures including central nervous tissue as well as the carotid artery. In large resections, soft tissue bulk is required to maintain structure, function and aesthetics. Although not always required, significant resections of anterior fossa involving the orbital rims or maxilla may require bone reconstruction. Finally, skull-based reconstruction may be necessary to provide a framework for the placement of orbital, dental or auricular prosthesis.
So as you know, barrier for CNS and extracranial cavity, and you should protect the carotid artery, and then you should go for anterior fossa protection like orbital rims or maxilla, which may require bony reconstruction. Skull-based reconstruction, it helps in which is helped by orbital, dental and auricular prosthesis.
Skull-base anatomy. The cranial base forms the floor on which the intracranial contents rest. It may be divided into three regions internally: anterior, middle and posterior fossae. The extracranial skull base forms the roof of paranasal sinuses, orbit, nasopharynx and infratemporal fossa.
So as we know, three divisions: anterior, middle and posterior. You could see over here region 1, region 2 and region 3, which are the roof of PNS, that is paranasal sinuses, orbit, nasopharynx and infratemporal fossa. Each and every structure being important by itself. So you are classifying it as region 1, region 2 and region 3 based on this picture as it is concerned. So region 2 being the middle cranial fossa.
Anterior fossa. Anterior wall of frontal sinus to lesser wing of sphenoid, cribriform plate of ethmoid, roof of ethmoid and crista galli, planum sphenoidal. The lateral aspect of the floor of the anterior cranial fossa provides the roof of the orbit.
As you know, from frontal sinus till the lesser wing of sphenoid, cribriform plate, roof of ethmoid, crista galli are all there, and till planum sphenoidal, it also includes the anterior fossa only. It forms the roof of the orbit.
Middle fossa. Anteriorly lesser wings of the sphenoid to posteriorly anterior aspect of petrous bone. Greater wing and body of the sphenoid sinus. Anterior surface of the temporal pyramid. Extracranial aspect of the middle fossa corresponds with the infratemporal fossa.
So from the lesser wing of sphenoid till the level of anterior aspect of petrous bone is middle fossa. It includes greater wing of sphenoid, body of sphenoid. Of course, planum sphenoidal belongs to the anterior cranial fossa. Anterior surface of the temporal pyramid, extracranial aspect of the middle fossa, which corresponds to infratemporal. So infratemporal fossa is below the middle cranial fossa.
Posterior fossa. Clivus, temporal bone pyramid and entire occipital bone.
As we know, posterior occipital bone, temporal bone pyramid and clivus are all related to posterior fossa.
As benign and malignant processes can affect multiple regions of the skull base, a number of groups have classified regions based on the surgical approach. Jackson and Hyde divided anterior posterior regions based on the pattern of tumor spread. Jones et al. Labeled the surgical regions in concordance with specific fossa, anterior, medial and posterior regions.
Thank you for watching, student.